On a Sunday night, the atmosphere shifts. The room feels louder, heavier, more emotionally charged than usual. People are yelling at the TV, reacting to every play like it personally affects their lives. Faces tense, voices rise, someone celebrates, someone else gets angry. And you're sitting there quietly watching all of it unfold, not confused exactly, just distant. You understand what's happening. You know who's winning. You know why people care, but none of it lands. You're not annoyed. You're not judging anyone. You're just waiting for the moment to pass, wondering why something that seems so important to everyone else feels completely neutral to you. And somewhere in that quiet moment, a thought creeps in. Am I missing something? If this is you, you've probably learned how to blend in. You nod when someone talks about last night's game. You smile at the highlights. You laugh at the right moments, even if nothing inside you reacts. And when someone finally asks, "Did you watch the game?" There's always that brief pause before you answer because saying no never feels neutral. It feels like admitting you skipped something you were supposed to care about. You might have been called uninterested, detached, or quietly labeled as not really into things. And maybe you've asked yourself before, why does this matter so much to everyone else? And why does it barely register for me? Here's the truth that rarely gets said without judgment. Nothing is wrong with you. Not caring about sports doesn't mean you lack emotion. It doesn't mean you're disconnected from people. And it definitely doesn't mean you're missing some essential part of being human. It usually means something much simpler. Your brain doesn't assign meaning the same way the crowd does. And that difference isn't a defect. It's a preference that never gets explained properly. Once you understand that, a lot of quiet confusion starts to make sense. Humans evolved to survive in groups. For thousands of years, belonging wasn't optional. Your group protected you, fed you, warned you of danger, and helped you stay alive. That need for belonging never disappeared. It just found new places to attach itself. Modern sports are one of the most powerful substitutes. Teams become tribes. Colors become identity. Wins and losses become shared emotional events. When someone watches their team play, their brain often releases chemicals associated with bonding, anticipation, and reward. The uncertainty of the outcome keeps attention locked in. Every play becomes a small emotional gamble. For many people, that cycle feels meaningful. It provides structure, narrative, and emotional release. But not everyone experiences reward the same way. Some people don't get that emotional surge from watching others compete. Not because they're numb, but because their brains prioritize different kinds of engagement. They feel more fulfilled when effort and outcome are directly connected, when their actions create something tangible, when progress is personal, not symbolic. So while one person feels energized by a game they can't influence, another feels detached because there's no agency involved. This difference often shows up beyond sports, in how people approach work, relationships, creativity. Some people are deeply motivated by shared experiences, others by internal alignment and personal direction. Neither system is superior, they're just tuned to different signals, and when your brain doesn't respond to spectator competition, it isn't rejecting meaning. It's searching for it somewhere more direct. Most people assume that if millions of others care about something, that interest must be universal. But psychology doesn't work that way. The brain doesn't reward popularity, it rewards relevance. Meaning is created when something feels connected to who you are and what you value. For some people, meaning lives in narrative. The comeback story, the rivalry, the shared tension of not knowing what will happen next. For others, meaning lives in intention. Building something, understanding something, improving something they can directly influence. Same human need, different pathways. When those pathways don't align, misunderstanding follows. Indifference gets mistaken for coldness. Selectivity gets labeled as disengagement. In reality, it's often the opposite. People who don't invest emotionally in spectator competition tend to invest deeply elsewhere. They just don't get credit for it. This doesn't mean caring about sports is shallow. And it doesn't mean not caring makes someone more evolved or thoughtful. Sports give many people genuine connection, stress relief, and joy. For others, that same structure feels emotionally empty because it doesn't translate into their real lives. Neither response is wrong. The issue only arises when we expect one source of meaning to work for everyone. when we assume enthusiasm should look the same across different minds. Understanding this difference removes a lot of unnecessary self-judgment and a lot of unnecessary comparison. If you've ever felt uncomfortable admitting you don't care about sports, try shifting the question. Instead of asking why you don't feel the excitement, ask where your attention naturally goes when no one is watching. What absorbs you without effort? What holds your focus without external pressure? Everyone invests emotional energy somewhere. Yours may simply be directed toward things that feel personally meaningful instead of collectively symbolic. That isn't disengagement, it's intentional allocation. And once you recognize it, you stop apologizing for how your mind works. Interestingly, people who don't get pulled into spectator competition often share other traits as well. They process stimulation differently. They value quiet focus. They're less reactive to noise and social pressure. In the next video, we'll explore how these minds operate beneath the surface and why this way of processing the world often becomes a hidden advantage rather than a limitation.